Hello everyone, welcome to another video. This time something a little bit different. I wanted to make a video where I talk about some of the cards that I will change in this game, because like any other card game, there are some cards that are either bad or completely useless, and it will be nice to see them receive at least a little bit of a buff, considering that this is a digital card game, so it doesn't cost them much to do it, and if they make a mistake they can easily go back. I start with the Alpha Legion because it's the one they know the best, they usually play the most. For making an example, starting, I'm not going in any particular order. This is one of the cards that I found the most useless, because it's super inconsistent. The only way you can make sure to trigger this effect is when your opponent deck is empty and you're filling it with traps. But at that point, you spend it, instead of spending for energy for this card, you're better off putting more traps in your opponent's deck. One way I will change it and is make it having a rally effect that makes your opponent draw a card or draw a trap, or having a passive effect that every time your opponent draws a card is always a trap. This will buff this card really much, but I'm not sure if it will break the game. With a passive effect like that could be really too strong. Instead the rally effect is more balanced, and it does the consistency that trap deck don't have, because you never know when your opponent is gonna to draw a trap. That was one. Let's see for another card. Secret Order in general, but reducing the cost to 2 was pretty good for them. But I think they're just fine, they're not bad. Let's see. Serpent Squad, it's a little bit useless. The effect is really strong because you play a lot of tactics in Alpha Legion. Maybe I think back then was a 4-4. So making him back to 4 energy 4-4 will be more flexible for him. Because at this point you're making big a card that is roughly big already. That doesn't help it much. It would be nice, for example, if after buffing this card, after playing 3 tactics, gaining a random buff, like Bloodthirst, something like that, Ward, the usual. That would be nice. But either or, this card is okay, it's not terrible, but doesn't do much. This card is suffering a little bit of the fact that there is a lot of anti-stealth, especially at the higher ranks. So it starts at that point are a little bit too low. It's basically like if this card didn't have stealth. So I will buff his at least his health a little bit, but his attack also, otherwise he's in range of Malgator. So something like a 5-6, even a simple +1/+1 will help a lot. This card is really strong, but the moment is there's a bunch of stat removal, it really loses all of its power. This card is really useless for the Alpha Legion and their playstyles. It's not bad, but it's like a neutral level of good, because it's flexible, being a big body with an effect that helps remove smaller stuff, but in Alpha Legion India really doesn't help the deck. Let's see, a way to buff this card. It could be changing the damage. Instead of dealing 2 damage, stunning 3 troops. That will be really good. Keeping the body and the cost the same. It would be an easy fix to help Alpha Legion. And what else? This one basically was the budget version of the Pale Spear before they nerfed it. It's too big. I found it that you usually wanna combo a little bit with the card draw, like what's it called, Orbital Base. So lowering the cost of this card, making a 7 Ranger 7/7 allows you to play it in combo with Orbital Blaze and shuffle your hand. That would be nice. The lower the cost of this card, the better, because it's an effect that you want as soon as possible, and because it's a troop, it really doesn't synergize if you play it and your opponent just removes. See, if they want to make a budget version of the Pale Spear, it needs to work at least a little bit. Under Eyes, is not terrible. The problem is always it's a little bit high on the cost. Maybe lowering the cost of this one, making it a 5/5 and 5 energy would also help it. Yeah, because the fact is not terrible. If you play it with a trap deck, filling your opponent with Seed of Betrayal, it could help. And also your opponent tend to draw a lot of cards anyway, or you can make him draw with Alpharius Warlord power. So the effect itself is not completely useless. I find that this card maybe it's a little bit too high on the cost. And those are pretty... right, I literally forgot about those because they were nerfed so much in the ground. If you don't know, they basically have it, the effect of rally, make your opponent lose 1 max energy, which was pretty good. They were nerfed to this, which is really doesn't help. If you wanna keep this effect, you of course give them at least a +1/+1. If you want to change the effect, it would be nice if you wanna make it something like the old one. Have it rally, make your opponent lose 2 energy for the next turn. That will be nice. So you keep the card being energy related in its teaming of the effect. But other than that, this fact now if maintains Titan weapon does tend to stick around more, but just a troop it really doesn't help. What else? I think those one were like those were mostly the more useless cards. Even a low level of play, you don't tend to see them. They really don't help you make any good deck, except maybe the legendary. Small buff for cards that are good, but could benefit from them. This in case, I don't know, your opponent doesn't have a troop, make him draw 1 more card, for example. So the fact is not completely wasted. These two basically are the mirror of each other, which I think is fine. Headhunter, they could honestly just have stealth, because as I said, it's easy to remove stealth nowadays. They don't benefit too much from it, or otherwise give them at least one more point of health could really help them. Legion, I think it's fine. Lowering the cost by 1 will make it see more play for sure, but it's still a strong card. As example, I use it in conjunction with Legion Glaive. So if you have a Legion Glaive, you summon another for 5 energy, or 2 if you have 2 copies of this card, which that can be really good. Current support has a nice effect. I think that it's too much aggressive in his start line, because a card like this you want just to stay on the board. So I will switch around the start, making it a 5-6, or simply giving him more and more point of health will really help me. Or otherwise also lowering the cost and the stats, but keeping the same effect will really help the card. This is not a bad card, it's just a little bit clunky. Those guys would be nice if they could stun the opponent also with their effect, not also the rally. But they are not terrible, a lower play, a lower level of play in the lower ranks, but yeah. So, these guys, what to do with them? They are not terrible, but being both a vehicle with frontline makes them vulnerable to some tactics. So making maybe morales a little bit, or instead a point of an attack, so making a flat 8-8, that could help. I'm sorry for that. I don't know if you heard the popping of some notification. And the effect of stunning on damage is still nice, so I think this card could help a little bit more of stats. And that was about it for the Legion. I don't think any of the Warlord is bad. The only thing that could help something like him will be when you turn from the Alpha Legionnaire into him to keep the 35 health, because if you turn immediately into him at the start of the game, you lose the 5 health. That could really help him. Otherwise it's good, since they buffed his effect, that now can target the opponent. And the rest of the Warlord are pretty good. Even Ingo Patch, they buffed it not too long ago, his Warlord ability. And I think that's it for Alpha Legion. If any of you has some comment about it, of the card that they will buff, please leave it. I'm really interested to see how people will deal with this game and make it better. So thanks for watching, and see you maybe next time with another video like this or just gameplay.